Come on, pup. All right, it's a beautiful day here in Northern Virginia. 40 degrees, and we're going to be checking our sap. We're going to collect our sap today, and then we're going to boil it down, make some maple syrup. So, first thing I'll say is I am not a maple syrup man. I don't make maple syrup, but I'm trying. I like checking it out. Done some homework and all that fun stuff, and wanted to share that with everybody here. So, with the syrup, I'll show you what's going on. So we have a few trees. We've got our sugar maple here, got our Japanese maple there, and we got another sugar maple over there. Excuse the mess. It's been nice out, kids are out playing. Alright, so I got my cheat sheet here of all the stuff I want to talk about. First of all, a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I've read just enough to try and, get some syrup and sap out of these trees, but I will tell you, do your own research on this stuff, because, you drill too many holes or too big, or you sap too long and stuff, you could really damage your trees. And with these big, beautiful maples, we don't want to hurt them. We just want to make sure that we get some nice sap out of them and experience what they have. So, next thing on the list. Yeah. Now we're going to get into the buckets here. So what we have right now is the taps. So you can see here, we've got 2 tap lines running. I bought these taps off of Amazon for like 15 bucks. It's really not a whole lot, but they're just plastic. If we look in here, you can see the tap lines. You drill about 2 inches in on a slight angle upward. That's terrible. I'm not a videographer, forgive me. And then you pop these in, and you can see that the sap just flows right on down, all through, and then into our collection bucket. I just had some big plastic buckets. I drilled holes in the top, and we capture our sap. So, let's see what we have to do here. I'm gonna set this camera up. We're gonna open up a bucket, and then I'll show you what we have. Okay. Not a whole lot on this one. The last few weeks it's been great, but we barely got maybe like a half a gallon out of this guy today. When they were really producing, this bucket would be overflowing overnight. But you got to tap it at the right time. And tapping can be kind of tricky with the right time from what I'm reading. You really want it to be, cold at night, almost freezing, and then up in the mid 40s is best, but also with a lot of good sunshine like we have today. That's going to heat up that tree. It's going to get the sap pumping up and down. And the sap sits in the roots when it's cold out, and then pushes up to the buds once it gets a little bit warmer. So when you catch it on these days when it's cold and warm, essentially the sap's moving up the tree, down the tree, up the tree, down the tree. And when you have your tap in there, it's going to just trickle out, fill up these nice buckets. So what I have here is a cooler sitting on the deck, and inside of that cooler, got a whole bunch of sap. Probably got about 2 gallons in there. Probably gonna add another gallon or so between the 3 trees. Just dump it on in. It's okay if there's debris, as I understand. But you just dump this stuff in here. You collect a whole mess of sap inside. And then you don't want to let that sap sit for more than upwards of a week from what I'm reading, because it will start to ferment. Remember, there's sugar in this stuff, and if you leave it outside and it gets warm, it'll just naturally ferment. So we want to capture it, get it in there, and then probably boil every week. That's how I'm trying, at least right now, and we'll see what happens. So this is just the first stage. I'll take you guys inside in a few, and we'll start our boil. Oh hey, didn't see you there. Thanks for coming back and watching this second part. Now we're obviously inside, we're doing the boil. Got it going here. It's just starting to kick off a little bit, but while it's bubbling, thought maybe tell you guys a little bit more about this stuff, what I've learned, and kind of see how it goes. But it's kind of funny, this has turned into a bit of a family exercise. We got this pretty cool book called Maple Syrup Season by, what's her name there, Anne Permel and Jill Weber. And it's a pretty cool book. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, a lot of family things about the whole family getting involved in the maple syrup harvest, how they have all the animals and the buckets out and everything, and then they start boiling all the sap and all that fun stuff. So basically everything we're trying to do here, just on a much smaller scale. So it's a pretty good book. Might be a little bit of that Canadian maple propaganda, but we love our brothers to the north. Anyway, so talking a little bit about the syrup, right? As we've gotten into these boils, I've done a few of these now, so that's why I'm cool with showing you guys a little bit of it. But we've got a couple types. So early season, and again, as this children's book has taught me, early season maple syrup is like golden. It's nice. It's real clean and pure. The flavor is super delicate, and it's got a nice like soft vanilla, caramel, maple obviously on it, but it's delicious, like delicious. It's called Grade A Fancy. Apparently it fetches like $100 a gallon or something like that. Maybe somebody can confirm that for me, but at least that's what I've been able to derive. That's Grade A Fancy, and I don't think I've ever had it, and I would bet that a lot of people out there haven't either. Then you get into your Grade A maple syrup. So quick comparison again. Grade A Fancy, Grade A. Still delicious stuff, right? I mean, it's fantastic. Really tasty, but it's got a lot more of that classic maple flavor, and it's got a little bit sweeter of a taste. Just maple, in my opinion. Really, still good stuff. So then as you get into this season, you get the first, and the timing of it all, sorry, is that Grade A Fancy comes first couple weeks. Grade A is the next couple weeks, and then as you get into the last couple weeks, as I'm reading, is the just Grade B, and Grade B might be used for more of like cooking or maple sugar or something like that. We're not going to do maple sugar right now. We're just going to talk about boiling and all that fun stuff. So, and if anybody wants to read something really cool, just to get an idea how much maple syrup costs and what the market's like, look up I think it's called the Great Quebec Maple Heist, something along those lines. People stole like millions of dollars, almost $20 million worth of maple syrup. Check it out. Anyway, we're working on the boil right now. So, remember we had our sap outside. Well, we took our sap and we put it in this bucket here. This is a 4-gallon bucket. It was basically full, and you can see it's pretty light colored, and it's just gonna boil. I got it on a low boil because I'm just gonna let it sit for the day. Gonna let it go, see where it goes. Now, I have a fan on the back there because the fan under here is not pulling as much that moisture out as I'd like. So I'm just blowing it so that it doesn't get stuck up under the microwave. I'm just circulating it around the house and humidifying the house essentially, because we're going to have like 4 gallons of water that we're boiling into the house over the next couple hours. So ideally you probably want like a propane burner or something that's really kicking this stuff off and getting it hot fast. But right now for what we have, I mean, this is fine. We're just doing small batch. I've tried doing these small batch on like an outside burner, just a little electric burner, and it's just too cold, doesn't heat up quick enough. I've tried doing different batches, half and half here and there. But what'll happen is, obviously, as that gets lower, you have less volume to boil, and the heat will boil it a lot quicker. So as we get down to the last bit, it boils a heck of a lot faster. So you do need to be kind of careful of it. There is a risk of, hold on one second, we got a visitor. Say hi. Hi. And there is a little bit of a risk, apparently, of maple syrup exploding. Haven't seen it. I mean, I'm just keeping a nice little low rolling boil here, but maybe something to consider. But ultimately, all we're trying to do with this boil is take it and get rid of the water, condense the sugar, get it all down, get that water out, sugar content goes up, and as that sugar content goes up, you want to be about 7 degrees above water boiling temperature. Here in Virginia where we are, we're about 500 degrees above sea level, typical boiling temperature, right? So you're going to be at about 212 degrees, I think it is. So we're shooting for 219 degrees. So as that sugar content increases, the amount of heat that's in there is more heat is required, to get the boil temperature up. So that's where we are. That's what we're doing. Again, just blowing evaporation all over the house and getting this thing boiling. So we'll check back in a few hours once we're just about done, and I'll have that last little bit for you here, and you'll see all the maple syrup start to finish as it is. Alright, we're back, and I think just in time. Okay, so here's the deal. We transferred that giant amount of sap into this tiny pot here. We've been boiling it for a little while. I know it says 7:30, but we turned the boil off for about 3 hours. Our kids are now in bed, so we can work. So here's what we're doing. We're trying to get to 219. What we have is the pot. It's almost there. It's boiling down. And now here in the sink, we got our funnel. We got our quart glass jar, and we got our nut milk bag. We're gonna pour whatever's left of the now syrup through there, through the nut milk bag and into the jar. It's sitting in some hot water right now to acclimate the jar so we don't get a crack. Not that I've had them, but just a little bit of a risk management piece there. So let's go check our temperature right now, see what we're doing, and see. So we want to get that to 219. Let's pop it in there. Man, doesn't that look like it's boiled down pretty nice. So all that sap boiled down to just this little bit here. Oh, right on time. Beautiful. Okay, that's off. See all that ooey gooey sap in there is fantastic. I know it's a tiny little bit of syrup that comes out of that ridiculous large bit that we have there, but man, is it good stuff. So just hang with me here. We're just gonna swirl it around, make sure we get all that good stuff in there. And pour it off. Right into the jar. Get every last drop. So we went from about, I don't know, maybe like 3.5-ish gallons down to, let's see what we did this time. Oof. What's that? Like half a cup? Ridiculous, right? Anyway, we're gonna strain all that through. Oh, this is good, man. I think we may have gotten this a little bit thick. Our syrup's just a little bit on the thick side here. The last couple that I've done have come through, and they were, oh, lids are popping. They were a little bit thinner, but this one, nice and thick. I think this might actually be a fun one. So what I'm gonna do is squeeze all that stuff through there, get the rest of it out, let it drain, and we'll get our syrup. So this one actually did a little bit hotter. If you come over here, we have, this one was done at 218, 7 degrees above. And look, you can see it's very liquidy. This one was done at 219, and it's a little bit thicker. And now that one I know was sitting at 220, but I did cheat. It's probably been sitting on 219, 220 for a little while, and man, was it hot. Trying to do the cooking show thing here. But look, we're getting all that nice syrup out. So we're probably gonna have about maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of a cup of syrup when this is all done. Nice brown, rich color. One thing I'm gonna tell you guys is that I did a little taste of it, and I think what's happening is it's just a tad bitter. And everything I've been reading is as soon as you get that little bit of bitter in that syrup, season's pretty much over. So we might be wrapping this up, and we're probably done tapping as of now. But we got some real nice flavors out of it. Everything came out great, and it was a good test first year. I will say, and I do want to stress one more time before I leave here, check and make sure you're tapping your trees properly. Read a lot about that. Make sure you do it right. Make sure you don't hurt those trees, because you can really get some nice stuff out of it. But I've also read horror stories where people have killed their trees. Don't want that to happen. So thanks for being here, watching this with us. Thanks for doing the test with me here. And as we go, we'll learn more. If you have any comments, questions, criticisms, suggestions, please put them in the comments below. And yeah, we'll all hopefully learn together and get better at this. Thanks again. Have a great night.